Hi, welcome back to my channel. This is Psychic Medium Raymond Guzman, and today I'm going to be doing a psychic mediumship reading on Kenneka Jenkins. I hope I pronounced her name correctly. Beautiful young girl, 19 years old. I believe that was her age, that was found dead in a hotel freezer. This is a a sad case. It's a very heart-wrenching case for any parent out there that would be listening to this, and anyone in general, just anyone in the world, that has experienced a loss of a loved one, especially of a person that was so young. It's just horrible. Now, I don't know anything about the case. Only thing that I know is I went online before doing this reading. I wanted to see the video footage because I always Google for a photo of the person that I'm going to read so I can put it on the PowerPoint. So I didn't do any research. The only thing I know is that she was at a hotel. There was a group of people in a hotel room. These are all facts that I'm starting the video off with. And I know that she was in the hotel. In the video footage, supposedly they found her stumbling around the hall after I guess they left the party. Some people were leaving the party, and supposedly she stumbled around the hotel for about an hour or so, eventually leading up to the kitchen, and then they found her in the freezer. But there's no footage of her going into the freezer. Um, so those are the facts that I know, and I wanted to see the video myself because as a psychic medium, when I scan for energy and tap into the soul, when I go ahead and look at, photographs, I can read off of a photograph. That's why I always use a photograph. That's how I do my private readings too. I look at the photograph of the person that I'm reading, and so I can see a lot of things just by looking at their eyes because the eyes are the windows to the soul. So, I did say a prayer and meditation, and I'm just hoping the messages that come through are able to provide some healing to the community, provide some answers that people are seeking about this case. And I can't when I do these private readings, I can't go into specific details again because there's certain things that I'm limited to give out due to certain reasons. One being my safety as well. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you exactly what I see, what I get. Now, the first thing that I'm getting here is that there's a lot of things that don't add up. Supposedly this whole room was booked under a false credit card, or, it was all being done in a hotel. The first thing that I'm telling myself is if you're throwing a party at a hotel, and again, this is not me being a conspiracy theorist, but what I'm getting from my own spirit guides, like communication with me. If you're throwing a party at a hotel room, isn't the hotel staff not going to come to the room and let them know something? I mean, come on, people, think about it. A lot of noise, music, people drinking. I don't care how big the hotel room is. There's got to be somebody that's on staff, a manager, a night manager, or someone in the hotel that would be responsible, unless this hotel was all in for this because they've done this before. The next thing that Spirit wanted me to ask, and just put out there, how many deaths have occurred at this hotel since it's been open? Is this the first death, or has there been other cases of people missing or just found dead in the hotel room? So these are the things that people need to look at as well. And, they also need to look at investigate the owners of the hotel and the staff of the hotel themselves, whoever was operating that hotel. And I'll get to that in a minute too. Now, when I get into Kenneka Jenkins, she's someone that I feel like was she had a pretty good communication with her mom, but I feel like the relationship was a little strained here and there. They would have gone at each other, with moods and things, discussions that she would have had with her mom and whatnot. But she ultimately did love her mom, and I feel like they had like a sisterly type of bond. But I do feel like there was some issues within the family dynamic themselves, with Kenneka's family. I do feel like she wanted this sense of liberty, and almost like she was growing up too soon, even though she was like 19. I feel like she wanted to already, be like a full grown adult, which in many cases, people would consider a 19-year-old as an adult, but I feel like she was way ahead of that, but even before 19. I do feel like she did have a tendency to maybe look or set her eyes on guys that were much older than her, not, her age. Again, only the family of Kenneka or people that would know her very dearly would know this, whether this was communication online. But I feel like she would have been communicating online, and there would have been some, text messages and things from guys that were interested in Kenneka. Um, I do get that there is, I don't know why it's coming through, but I do get there was a Caucasian male interested in her that would have had, I feel like light brown hair, light colored eyes. These would be either green or blue. Uh, and I just feel like there's like a deceptiveness to this person. And then there's another guy, and he's also Caucasian, and I get that there would have been like dark brown hair and brown eyes. So, but it feels like they, were like competing for Kenneka. I don't know the whole thing, but this seems almost like a third party relationship, kind of like friendship, like her and two other guys. So, that is up for debate on whether or not, the family knows these details or not. But I feel like she was in communication with some men. And again, I feel like these were much older than her. If she was 19, these guys would have had to have been, I want to say in the 20s, mid 20s, maybe late 20s. But I do get that completely from this from my spirit guides and everything else. Um, I feel like what I'm getting is that when she was in the hotel room, that everybody was doing drinking, and they were doing other things as well. There was smoke, and there would have been some other drugs given. And I feel like when she had a drink, she was distracted, definitely was on her phone, and then talking to friends. Something was put in her drink. It's one of those things where it would be put in her drink, and then she would get kind of like, it would take an effect, I don't know what they call that, date rape drug or whatever. I don't know what it's called, but it's something like that, where the person is inebriated already, they're already drunk, but at the same time it's working in the system, and they eventually are kind of like unconscious. They start, losing their balance and vision. So when I looked at the video, that's one of the reasons that I wanted to look at the video of her, the footage of her walking down the hotel room, down the hall, and she was kind of stumbling, like losing her balance. Now, you could say most people that are drunk would do that, but what I got from Spirit was that there was substances in the drink that would have uh, were put in her drink by someone in the party because they had intentions to have sex with her, uh, and it wasn't a willing consensual sex. It would have been considered rape. So I know that I saw some of the photos as well of the body when they found the body in the freezer, and that helps me to kind of connect. Those images are kind of very gruesome and very, I don't know why they would even post those online, but I do get that there was a struggle. I do get that that people in the party, her friends, quote unquote friends, would know about what happened to her, and they're not coming forward. It's all a cover up. So apparently there was like 15 people that were in the party that the police were trying to search for. But they don't, know exactly what is going on with those people. I don't know if to this point, if they've fully investigated all the people that were in there, but I would imagine that they wouldn't know every single body that was in the party, because you don't have to check in, I believe. I'm not familiar with hotels that well, but if there was that many people, the room was booked under one name, one person, you know, then there's a lot of people that are coming into that hotel room. But there's a lot of questions around her passing and what happened, and I get that she would have left the party. She was feeling sick already, and kind of out of it, kind of like mentally she wasn't there. It was kind of like a cloudy, kind of like when you're under sedation. That's kind of like the feeling of it. And she would have walked around, but I mean, how come nobody of her friends that were there, quote unquote friends, no one came to look for her when she left, or they noticed that she was missing? There's a lot of the story that doesn't add up at all. So these are the questions that people need to ask themselves. And The mom didn't buy the story that she was, she ended up walking herself into the freezer and then dying there. I don't believe it either as well. It's all a cover up. And like I said, there's at least 6 or 7 people that know what really happened. They know that something happened, something got out of control. I feel like it was almost like one of those things that you see on TV. They thought it was going to be something very cool to kind of, slip this into her drink and see how she would react. But in many ways, I feel like there was a guy that would wanted to have, or a group of people that um, wanted to have sex with her, and that's just the way I'm going to put it. And I'm sorry, this is very ugly to even talk about that. So I don't feel like it was just one person involved. I feel like there was multiple people involved in her murder. She was murdered. This was murder. And then it was a cover up. Somebody was working in conjunction with the hotel to cover this up. So whoever was on staff, they could have been someone that would have been in the hotel. One of these friends, had family members that worked in the hotel security or with the camera or knew the owner. But there's something that is not adding up here. I feel like the hotel is fully aware of something that's going on, and a lot of the footage was edited completely. I do believe that, because how are you not going to be able to see when she walks into the freezer, regardless? I mean, why would, if she didn't even know the hotel? I don't care what kind of state of mind she would have been in, how would she know exactly where you know, the the freezer is? And why would she want to go into a freezer? I don't care how, you know, inebriated you are or whatever is in there, you wouldn't have the strength to open it. Because I believe a lot of those freezers and those hotels and big, facilities like restaurants and stuff that hold, meat and other things in there, they're kind of like pretty hard to open. She wouldn't have had the strength, I think, to open it up in that kind of state that she was in. I do see a male afterwards, after all of this has happened, and he is not, his conscience is eating him up, and he doesn't have a good piece of rest. He worries about being caught. Will he come out eventually? I feel like he's definitely going to slip up somewhere. So at least one of these people that are responsible for her death are going to be caught. How soon does this happen? You know, it could be, I want to say like within 3 or 4 years from now, if not less. But there are going to be some more revelations to this case. Even though the police may have tried to close it or rule it was an accident, it was by no means any kind of accident. That's not what I'm getting here. A lot of secrets, a lot of cover-ups, but it was a group of people. The reason that I mentioned the 2 guys that would have been Caucasian, I don't know if she had a sexual relationship with them. I don't feel like it, but I feel like there was some deceptiveness to it as well. So I don't know if this was just an all-black party or there would have been some other nationalities. I feel like there was a lot of white people in the party as well, Caucasians and African Americans. So I don't feel like it was just a purely African American party. There would have been a mixture of people in the party. But there would have been 2 guys that would have tried to hook up with her. But like I said, I feel like there was a group of people in the party that know about what happened to Kenneka. And it was like she didn't realize that this was going to even happen to her. That's what I'm getting from her soul. When she went to the party, she didn't even realize like this was going to be her last time to see her mom or to see anyone, that she was just going in there trusting, and trying to have a good time, trying to forget about, the daily life struggles and whatnot. But I just feel like she didn't see it. There's also an older male that I feel it would be like the owner of the hotel, that is also someone that has a lot of guilt or conscious. His conscience is eating up at him. I feel like there's been threats against the owner of the hotel, death threats, people that have come to the hotel, family members, wanting to know. I also feel like there's been paranormal investigations done at this hotel where she would have been passed. And I feel like many times, I feel like her soul didn't cross over immediately. It was earthbound for quite some time. Like she didn't realize what had happened. And it was like she saw her body there. And I feel like her mother has felt her presence around her. And I feel like there's people that have done EVPs or paranormal investigations to kind of see if they can communicate with her. But has she crossed over now? Yes, she has crossed over. But I feel it was a very difficult transition because when a person is murdered or they leave this world in a very violent state, it sometimes the soul needs time to transition. It's not something where you just step out of your body like you see on TV and, oh, you're a ghost and you just go on into the light. Not everybody goes into the light, especially if they were like murdered and they weren't sure of, how it was done. But I do get sexual abuse, and I feel like it was not, if it was documented, they didn't want to like make it a public knowledge or public statement, but there would have been that, and I feel like she was beaten. There would have been some struggles. There would have been some struggles, even though she was kind of in and out of it. There would have been some struggles around this whole thing. This is sorry, I had to take a deep breath because this is just this is not good. And again, more lies, secrets, people that know. Um, I'm getting from her soul is that some people feel like they're going to be judged if they come out by other people. Like there's two or three people, and I feel like there's some females in here that know what happened that maybe were not in agreement with it, but they just didn't want to get involved in it, but they know what happens, and they feel like this female energy feels like they're going to be judged or their life would be at risk if they came out and said something to the family or to the police. But this was definitely foul play. It was definitely murder. It was a cover up, and I feel like it was young energy that did this. It wasn't old energy. There's been conspiracies that have been flying that it was harvesting, human trafficking and harvesting, of organs and stuff. But I don't get any of that. If it would have been human trafficking, in most human trafficking cases, they would have taken her, and you would have never found the body in most cases with human trafficking. That's been ruled out as a conspiracy. The other thing that they said, that was harvesting. Well, there would have been evidence of organs being cut out of her. I don't feel like there was any of that. I don't see any of that. I don't get that from her spirit. But what I do get is that this was a very much a cover up by a group of people. And you have to think about it. The hotel would have covered a lot of this up, even if they knew the case, if they didn't know everybody in the party. Because in the event that this would have been like an investigation like it was, and the hotel was found negligible in many ways, they would have been set up for a big lawsuit by the family. They wouldn't be having a hotel today. I don't care how big it is, that hotel would not be there. And I just get there's a lot of cover up, and the hotel knows there's somebody there, like the owner. They know exactly what's going on, and that's what I'm just getting from spirit. And justice will be brought to light. I feel like there's a lot of people that are still unhappy, not just Kenneka's family, but people from all around the world, anyone that can relate to someone that's so young, that had so much of a future ahead of her, to be taken out this way. Um, it's beyond me to even understand why, there's this that people, want to, do things like this. I don't care if it was a stupid thing, that they didn't mean it. Some people are going to say that these kids, that did it, they didn't mean it. It doesn't matter if you didn't mean it. People know right from wrong. And eventually, they feel like they could go on with their lives, these 15 or, group of people that they couldn't account for. But I feel like there was at least 6 or 7 people that would know what happened. But if they feel like they, can go on with living their lives with that conscious weighing heavily on them, then they're really, really lying to themselves. Because when you do wrong in this world, we're all held accountable before we leave this world, and even after that, when our soul crosses over into the spirit realm, we're held accountable. There's a life review. We are held accountable, if not here in the physical world, in the spiritual realm, for what we do. And I just feel like, here on earth, they're never going to have peace. Even if they try to, brush this under the rug and try to go on about their normal lives, Kenneka's face is always going to haunt them. They're always going to feel responsible and guilty. So again, I feel like a lot of people are not going to come forward because they are fearful for their own safety, and they don't want to face any, time in prison or jail for the murder. But there's people that know what went on, and I feel like there's a couple of females, and there was definitely a group of males that led to her passing. And like I said, and people were not wrong when they said the camera was edited. That you wouldn't see her going into because the body wasn't in the freezer to begin with. They did it somewhere there in the kitchen area, and then they off camera, they did what they did to her, and then they dragged the body and positioned it in a way, that it looked like it was in the freezer, like she had, gone and fell asleep in the freezer. But it was all a farce. It was all lies and a lot of editing that would have been done. So yeah, this whole thing is it's just a big mess, and it's hard, to even think that, she was so young and she had so much to give and to do. But this is what I'm getting from Spirit and from her soul. So I hope this, kind of clears up what a lot of people see. Again, you don't have to agree with me. I'm not here to defend my gifts. I'm not doing this video, to get views. That's not what it's about. I love you all that listen to my channel, and you make a lot of suggestions on what, kind of videos you want to for me to do. And this was one that I had seen for a long time, but I've had a lot of other celebrity requests to do as well. And Kenneka wasn't necessarily a celebrity in many ways, but if I can use this platform to kind of create and expose some light to these cases, even though it's a murder case, there's a lot that needs to be done. And I think a lot of people may have, that have done readings. I haven't seen any of the other readings that are out there on YouTube, but I'm pretty sure that there's going to be some things that match up, things that the other readers may have said as well. So I want to thank you all for tuning in. If you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, be sure to comment below if there's any, other people that you would like for me to do a celebrity reading or a psychic reading on, especially if it was something like this, like an open case. I know there's one with the guy out of New York that was he was a fairly young guy. He was beaten, I believe, or he was killed, murdered. But I'll be doing that one as well soon. So blessings and love and light. Have an amazing day.